Hi, this is Jim from Safety Wars. Before we start the program, I want to make sure everyone understands that we often talk about OSHA and EPA citations, along with some other regulatory actions from other agencies, legal cases, and criminal activity. Everyone is innocent until proven guilty in a court of law. Proposed fines are exactly that, and they are often litigated, reduced, or vacated. We use available public records, news accounts, and press releases. We cannot warranty or guarantee the details of any of the stories we share, since we are not directly involved with these stories, at least not most of the time. Enjoy the show.
This show is brought to you by Safety FM.
On social media to make a deal.
Hello. It's us.
You got into the safety business because you wanted to protect people, but somewhere along the way, the job started controlling your time, your schedule, your priorities, even your income potential. What if the expertise you've built over the years in the field can give you something more? More freedom, more control, more ownership of your future. I'm Sheldon Primus, the author of 7 Steps to Starting a Profitable Safety Consulting Business and the host of the Safety Consultant Podcast, with more than 350 episodes helping safety professionals become consultants and grow their career. Consulting changed my life. In fact, I'm a full-time RVer, and one consulting contract paid for my home I live in today. Now, I help safety professionals build their own consulting practice through bi-weekly coaching calls, accountability, and personal guidance. But this program isn't for everyone. Start with the Consultant Readiness Audit at sheldon.coach.
What if everything we thought we knew about safety was just interference? From the host of the Rated R Safety Show and the founder of Safety FM comes the complete Signal Transmission Trilogy, now available in one powerful edition. Safety, in my opinion, the book that started the conversation. Safety Mutation, where the boundaries of culture, systems, and belief begin to break. And now, Safety Transmission, the final piece of the signal. For the first time, all 3 books are together in one volume. The Signal Transmission Trilogy, Complete Edition. This isn't just about compliance. It's about consciousness. It's about decoding the way we think, lead, and live, inside and outside the system. Whether you've been following the signal since the beginning or you're just now tuning in, this is the version to own. Search Signal Trilogy on Amazon or visit safetyfm.com to get your copy now.
So, we're going to have a little bit of a shortened program here tonight, just to let you know. And, just what it is. We have some stuff going on tonight. And, anyway, how's everybody doing out there? Now, the Safety FM, the live broadcast, which is what you're listening to right now, it's going to have some filler material for whatever I get done until the end of the show. So, just not feeling up to it tonight, guys. Beautiful 85-degree day here where I am, and on the East Coast, and the allergies are out there. The allergies are attacking me, right? So, we're a little bit out of it. I was outside most of the day, so enjoying the beautiful weather and the project I'm on. You know, it is what it is. So, what else? Last night, we were involved in some situations, so I could not get on the air. So, that's why we're getting 2 programs tonight. And I always say this weekend it might happen where we have weekend programming. And next weekend we have some special programming, if I can get on the air here. Don't know if I'll be on the air next week. We'll leave it at that. Right? I'd like to share some information with my radio family there. Anyway, I'm going to be flying out on Monday. We're a little bit anxious about how long we're going to have to wait for to wait online here. And I tell you what, it's starting to get ridiculous here with everything. This past week, we're going to stick mostly to the regular news today. We do have some OSHA stuff, but things are getting people are getting very anxious out there, especially this whole TSA thing with a lot of the TSA not being funded, specifically ICE and TSA agents here. And here we go here. I got some stuff here. And with the economy in general, I don't know how this is going to work out here in 2026 in November here. And as I was having some discussions today with some people, and what it comes down to is this. The people will remember being inconvenienced a couple of hours in an especially with an airport. They will remember that. You can do, if you're a politician, many, many different things. A government and the public is very forgiving. Public will forget. Make someone stay in their least favorite place for 4 or 5 hours. You're going to have a problem. Not tackling this affordability crisis that we're dealing with here, that's another issue here. I don't even know where to begin with the affordability crisis. I have this T-shirt that says, now, hold on. Let me go to commercial break. Let me get you that T-shirt. I have it right over here. So we're going to put this on for a second, and I'll be right back here for you folks. Hold on. Do-do-do.
Have you listened or watched the Safety War Show? It does stream live on the radio and on the streamer-emers that we have. So if you have not taken a listen to Jim Bolzel and what the hell he's doing every evening with Safety Wars, I would strongly encourage you to take a view or take a listen, whichever option is available for you, and take a listen to what the hell he has going on. It will take some deep dives and some information that you might be interested in.
So I like going, and we're working on getting swag here, right, for you to purchase. Here you go. I'm holding up a T-shirt, and I have a couple of sarcastic T-shirts here, and this is my latest. I don't like to brag about expensive trips, but I did just return from the grocery store. Tell us we're not feeling it at the grocery store. Right? So, over the last year or so, I have changed my lifestyle significantly, and after a situation in January, I really have changed my lifestyle significantly here, and we'll leave it at that. And no, we all make New Year's resolutions. It was not a New Year's resolution. We'll leave it at that. It was something that I had to do, and so I like cooking. My son, his hobby is cooking, which is good because I like to eat. He's in Scouts, and he's into cooking, and they're like encouraging him to go into like a cooking or a culinary school type thing, or at least take some classes, see if that's a career option that he would like to do. So certain things where I'm not allowed to cook in the house. Right, because he does a better job, to be honest with you, on most of it. And, so I go to the store and it's like everything's expensive. No, I said, you know what? I'm in the mood for a steak today. I'm really in the mood for a steak. I go to the store. It's like $10 a pound for a steak from a normal store. So I find myself going to like the really cheap places and the quality isn't there. And, it's like, not that I eat porterhouse. The porterhouse steak was like $45. I was like, really? Whoa. I don't know. So we don't eat a lot of those. So I ended up saying, screw it, I'm not going to spend that kind of money. I'm going to go out and I'm going to eat hamburgers. And that's what I see a lot of people doing. They're people not buying So we used to have the weekly grocery trip when I was growing up. Guess what? Most people, and that's what every family had, the weekly grocery trip. Well, guess what? Now people are going to the grocery store. If they're not buying in bulk, they're going like every other day and not buying as much, just buying exactly what they need and not more. That's what I'm saying. And those are in like the big fancy places that you may go to. Now, it's not like the Aldi's or Lidl where people are doing that. They're doing it in like Wegmans, Whole Foods, the high-end stores over here in the Northeast. So affordability is an issue, and we warned you about this. We've been warning for an awful long time with this, and had I listened to my own advice, things would turn out a little bit different. So here's a story out of MSN.com, story by Julie Z. Weil. Both Republicans and Democrats have put a flurry of ideas to tackle America's affordability problem, but economists don't particularly like most of what's on offer. Republicans have floated capping credit card interest rates and stretching on mortgages to 50-year terms. A GOP law has extended taxes on tips, car loan interest, and overtime pay. Democrats, so that was the big, beautiful bill, where if you make up to a certain amount of money, they reduce their taxes on tips, certain overtime pay up to a certain threshold, and car loan interest. I did not know that. No, Democrats, meanwhile, have proposed freezing rents and utility rates and capping the price of groceries. Some have even wanted to suspend the gas tax and cut seniors' property taxes. And although there's not much bipartisan brainstorming, it's possible that both parties could come together to force certain institutional investors out of the housing market. Many economists are appalled by all of it. You can come up with a laundry list of these things that are very attractive to normal humans, but that repulse economists, said Scott Linesome, Vice President and General Economist at the Libertarian Cato Institute. The problem, as many economists view it, is that despite voters' desires for relief from rising costs of living, it's fundamentally difficult to bring down prices. When politicians try creative ways to do it, they often cause other problems. Prices are stubborn and sticky. Companies, once they raise prices, are quite loath to lower them, Lincecum said. Lincecum has said. Price caps and freezes are eternally seductive because they communicate to a political audience that you are stopping the price increases. But price controls can lead to shortages or hoarding of other bad outcomes. Subsidies can end up driving prices higher for everybody. If you try to push down grocery prices, you could actually start reducing supply because I'll say this, Jimmy's saying this, there's no money in it anymore, no incentive. So what happens is less of it is made, right? And you're messing with the supply and demand curves. People might start going out of business or grocery store close, said Josh Bivens, chief economist of the Liberal Economic Policy Institute. He added, the price obsession has led to a lot of policy ideas that are just not going to work very well, and I'm sort of frustrated with where they're going. Politicians, activists, and others in the wide world beyond economics seminars often gravitate toward positive aspects of policies that might help people who are struggling as costs soar. What policy makers are doing is scrambling around to show that they care about this individual market and that this is leading to a lot of bad policy, a lot of confused policy. It goes on and on and on. Now, I do know, based on my experience in politics, right, let's not forget I was involved in many years, and also with policy analysis, a lot of people feel that this is good, high prices, because then, guess what, we're not going to eat as much because you don't have enough money to spend. There's also people that say, well, this is good with higher prices because then we could get our population control under control. By the way, Paul Ehrlich, who came up with this modern, who got blamed for the modern, what should I say? The view that we have to reduce population. and he started this whole thing in the 1960s, the modern movement here. Basically, he's been credited for, as well as I believe it was the Club of Rome, which put controls and had wanted central planning, and another unelected group of people out there that are unaccountable to no one. When you look at all of this stuff and the economy, there's one thing that goes through, and I'm going to, at the risk of being conspiratorial here, it's population control. When you view most of our policies out there, economic policies, land use policies, it all has to do with population control, either reducing the population or controlling the population. It can mean either way, and that's what I see going on. So when you see one of these things, and it doesn't matter what the public policy is it doesn't matter. Consider looking through it through the lens of population control, and then all of a sudden, a lot of things make sense. I have a family member who, not surprisingly, she's much more liberal than I am on most things, and we were having a discussion. And again, people don't like to have discussions on politics or religion. Well, then they have no, I can see politics. Sometimes a religion they're not going to discuss. Well, guess what? You have very boring conversations here with this. If you don't talk religion or politics or economics, right? See what other people are thinking, and then what happens? If you don't ask people what they're thinking, other people tell you what they're thinking. And with her, long story short, we were having a discussion. I said, you just look. I can't say who she is or what she does because she is a semi-public figure. I said, you just look at what the lens of population control, and all of this stuff seems to make sense. And whatever we were discussing, and she thought about it. Next time we had a family gathering, she said, you know what, you were absolutely right. I looked. And it does seem to explain a lot of why things happen. Same thing with economic policy. I point out, most wars are fought on credit. If a country has to fight a war with cash, guess what? The wars aren't going to happen that often, or they're going to be very quick. Easy. When we have all of this credit being loaned out by central banks and everything else, guess what? Now we have an incentive for war because it's not the politicians are never going to have to account for that. So again, this is an important thing, and now this feeds into the whole TSA thing. John Cassavetes, who is a radio station owner in New York, had a caller call in. He has his own show on specifically the airlines. John Cassavetes is a real estate developer, but he was also in a previous life a pilot. So he was commenting on the situation over LaGuardia. And he's the one who, at least what I heard, was with the TSA agents with the food hardship they're going through. There's not a lot of food security with what they're dealing with out there. So what they did was, and where we have, so what he's, hold on the air. Okay. So what he's doing is he set up a charity where if you feel so inclined, you could go out there and be careful what charity you donate to. There's a lot of people probably with fake charity to try to help the TSA workers who are not getting paid. And people are getting pissed, right? People are getting pissed, to say the least. So they have been working without pay since February 14th, which is a little bit over a month, no pay. And approximately 460 officers had quit as of Tuesday. And that's in George Bush Intercontinental Airport in Houston. People are waiting 4 hours. Well, there was a family that flew out of New City today, right? New York. One of my daughter's friends, they flew out. They had an early morning flight. They got to Newark Airport at like 3 o'clock in the morning. And guess what? The doors weren't even open yet. And guess what? They had lines out the door, reportedly. I mean, like I said, people are going to remember being inconvenienced. People are going to remember being delayed. How that's going to happen in September and November, I don't know. Here we have one from NPR, nationalpublicradio.org. Travelers are facing the longest TSA wait lines in history. The TSA is expecting the longest wait lines ever in its 24-year history because of the ongoing partial shutdown. The agency's deputy administrator, Ha Nguyen McNeil. Wow. Right. No, I just comment because that's Asian. I believe that's an Asian first and middle name, and then McNeil, Irish name. So, all the much better here. Told the House Homeland Security Committee on Wednesday, wait times at some major airports have exceeded 4 hours, and employees at those airports are calling out of work at rates of 40 to 50%. McNeil told members of the committee, if this partial government shutdown continues into Friday, TSA will have missed $1 billion, that's B with a billion, in paychecks since it began, McNeil said. This level of disruption is unprecedented and unacceptable and significantly undermines the security of the U.S. transportation systems. Trump's move to send ICE to airports, and this is from MSN.com, to send ICE to airports fails to break impasse or end long lines. Facing record high wait times at airport security checkpoints, President Donald Trump turned to an idea that gained traction after a woman from Arizona called into a right-wing talk show. Send in immigration agents. The result was not reduced security lines, according to data from affected airports. Flyers on Wednesday were still taking 4 or more hours to clear security at Houston's George Bush International Airport, where unpaid TSA administration agents skipped shifts have sharply reduced screenings. White House Press Secretary Caroline Leavitt acknowledged that wait times hadn't decreased as much as we'd like. She did not address a question on whether the stationing ICE agents at airports had affected their work on deportations. I tell you what, folks, perfect storm here. Let's see where this goes here. And this from Associated Press. Trump says he'll sign an order to pay TSA agents as Congress struggles to reach a funding deal. President Donald Trump said Thursday he would sign an emergency order instructing the Homeland Security Secretary to immediately pay TSA agents as Congress struggles to reach a deal to end the budget impasse. Trump announced his decision on social media posts, saying he wanted to quickly stop the chaos at the airports. It's not an easy thing to do, but I'm going to do it, the president posted. With pressure mounting, the White House had floated the extraordinary move of invoking national emergency to pay TSA workers, while senators reviewed a last and final offer to end the funding impasse that has jammed airports and disrupted travel. And let's hear what the AP says here. Democrats have been refusing to fund the Department of Homeland Security as they demand changes to rein in President Donald Trump's immigration enforcement operations. Trump, during an event at the White House, warned he would step in if Congress failed to act. The Senate came to a standstill, and senators, ready to leave town for their own spring break, prepared to stay all night to reach a deal. Enough is enough, said Senate Majority Leader John Thune, Republican from South Dakota, as he announced he had given the final offer to the Democrats. Thune did not discuss details of the new framework, but he said that he had picked up on what had been the Republican offer over the weekend before talks in the White House and Democrats have broken off. Hopefully there will be some finality in this real soon, Thune said. Now, the 41st day of the shutdown. I don't know. What are we going to do? All right, we're going to go. I tell you what we're going to do. We're going to go to Features Story News. And we are at 22 after the hour.
From Feature Story News in Washington, I'm Kate Fisher. US President Donald Trump has again threatened Iran on social media to make a deal. A key test of G7 unity takes place this week as foreign ministers meet in France. Nick Harper reports from Washington.
Donald Trump says that Iran is begging to make a deal. But so far they have not accepted the US proposal and instead offered their own counter-proposal. It comes as US Secretary of State Marco Rubio prepares to attend the second day on Friday of the G7 Foreign Leaders Summit. He is likely to defend the US military action against Iran as necessary, but G7 allies will be looking for reassurances and clarity about a timeline for the end of this conflict.
Venezuela's former president Nicolas Maduro returned to a New York courtroom on Thursday, almost 3 months after US forces captured him in a dramatic nighttime raid in Caracas. Maduro's trial could be years away, but the court has to deal with a number of issues first, including whether the Venezuelan government should be allowed to fund his legal defense. From New York, Mitch McCann reports.
Nicolas Maduro's lawyer, Barry Pollock, has told the court he will have to withdraw from his role in defending the former Venezuelan president if he's unable to be paid after the US government blocked Venezuela from funding his defence. Initially, the Treasury Department had allowed that to happen, but later blamed an administrative error and said it would not permit a sanctioned state to pay for the defence of a sanctioned individual. It added that Maduro is welcome to pay out of his own pocket, something he says he cannot afford to do. Maduro also argues he has sovereign immunity from prosecution under international law.
The International Olympic Committee has banned transgender women from Olympic competition, saying the new policy promotes fairness. The eligibility change comes after US President Donald Trump signed an executive order last year banning transgender girls and women from competing in female sports ahead of the 2028 LA Summer Games. Our US correspondent Tony Waterman has more.
Under the new policy, only biological females will be allowed to compete in the Olympics starting in 2028. Their sex will be determined by a mandatory one-time genetic test. IOC President Kirsty Coventry said the decision was based on science, which she says shows males have a performance advantage in sports that rely on strength, power, and endurance.
At the Olympic Games, even the smallest margins can be the difference between victory and defeat. So it's absolutely clear that it would not be fair for biological males to compete in the female category.
It's unclear how many, if any, athletes may be impacted. The IOC says these individuals would still be eligible to compete in the male competitions.
From bureaus worldwide, this is FSN.
With FSN Spotlight, I'm Simon Marks. Today, a voice from inside Iran supportive of the country's ruling clerical regime, at a point where the Iranian government is exuding a degree of confidence about its current position, even as it's facing a fourth week of US and Israeli bombardment. Its leaders are accusing President Trump of negotiating with himself and vowed never to come to terms with him. President Trump maintains that in discussions since last weekend, the Iranians have seemed desperate for a deal. Professor Mohammad Marandi at the University of Tehran says that is not the case.
Iran has rejected this 15-point plan because it violates Iranian sovereignty. And that's what the revolution in 1979 was all about. It was about sovereignty and independence, and it was anti-imperialist. And that's why the United States and its allies and proxies hate Iran so much. Iran opposes genocide in Gaza, and that's a sin. You must support genocide in Gaza. But no, Iran is not going to accept anything that will impact Iran's sovereignty.
The professor is a staunch defender of the Iranian government in a country where, of course, millions of people have taken to the streets in recent months demanding democratic change. But for now, the regime itself appears to remain cemented in position. With FSN Spotlight, I'm Simon Marks.
Our main news again. US President Donald Trump has again threatened Iran on social media to make a deal. Venezuela's former president Nicolas Maduro returned to court in New York almost 3 months after US forces captured him in a dramatic nighttime raid in Caracas. And the International Olympic Committee has banned transgender women from Olympic competition. That's the latest feature story news. Kate Fisher reporting.
Thank you very much. Feature Story News here. Now, what else is going on here? Let's head on over to OSHA News here. Right, and hold on. I hate it when things don't work the way they're supposed to work. All right, so
Safety Wars is streaming now. SafetyFM.com.
OSHA recordables, catastrophic losses, environmental disasters. You want answers? So do I. This is Jim Posel with Safety Wars.
That's my daddy!
Well, you know that it's live when you have these little things that go on here. For some reason, the buttons weren't working on my mixer board here. U.S. I'm going to do share screen here. U.S. Department of Labor cites Georgia's stone product manufacturer. Let's cover this up. For exposing workers to respirable dust. Exposing, crystalline silicon and other safety violations. A U.S. Department of Labor follow-up inspection of two Cartersville stone product manufacturers found that the employers failed to address safety violations related to silica exposure, and the department identified in previous investigations. After a follow-up instruction, the department's OSHA cited Stone Atlantic Countertops, which owns the facility, for 2 repeat and 7 serious and 3 other than serious violations related to exposures to noise and respirable crystal silica, including failure to develop a written respiratory protection program, a written exposure control plan for silica, and a written HAZCOM program for hazardous materials. OSHA also cited GT Stone Granite LLC with 8 repeat, 4 serious, and 2 other than serious violations for employees overexposed to noise and respirable crystalline silica. In addition, OSHA found the employer failed to implement a written exposure control plan and a HAZCOM program. OSHA proposed $42,699 in penalties for Stone Atlantic countertops and $73,607 in penalties for GT Stone Granite LLC. The employers have 15 days, blah, 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 blah. Yeah, and everyone's innocent until proven guilty. So I went out there and hold on. So I just read you the thing, and there is a mainstream media report here on this also. Bear with me a second. I'm trying to find where it is. Hang on. We have some Star Trek news also we're going to comment on here. Big news in Star Trek. Okay, so I lost the story here. Sorry, folks. Now, again, you don't get any analysis here. So in the article I was looking at on this story, not very much detail. So we're going to go into a little bit more detail here with this. I went on the OSHA establishment search page, all right, for both of these manufacturers, both of these things. Let me show you this. This is for GT Stone Granite LLC. And you can see that on 8/29/2024, they were cited here and had 10 violations. Let's see what those violations were. So we had 1910-00095. That one was for noise. I believe that's what the regulation is, occupational noise exposure. Here, employer did not administer a continuing effective hearing conservation program with that. And what ended up happening was OSHA went out and did the sampling for them and determined that they had extremely I don't want to say extremely, but they had high levels of that, of noise with that. Now, what my thinking is, often, OSHA may come in and say, oh, we may have a noise issue here, and then come back later on to do that. And this is where it's really important you are paying attention during an OSHA inspection. If they point out noise hazards during the actual inspection, it would probably behoove you to go out and take your own samples as soon as they mention that. Same thing with air samples or many other industrial hygiene samples. Why? Why? Because you're probably going to get cited on that, and they're going to tell you what you're going to need to do with that, which will tell you what you need to do anyway on that, or at least give you options and say, this is what it is. You have to do something. I may not tell you what to do with it. Hey, this is what it is. So now, because what happens is you're ceding some control over that. So if they say, well, hey, we don't like the noise levels here, or they say something to that effect during the actual inspection, probably would behoove you to go and, try that out. See what's going on for yourself so there's no surprises here. And the other thing is, how do you know that they're necessary? Not that they're doing something wrong, but no, it would help if you, especially if it's a borderline situation, it might help if you have your own sample data. Now you're better able to fight these citations, or at least negotiate something if you have your own sample data. 1910 134C violation here, and that was for a written respiratory protection program, right? And then 1910 1053. Remember, I'm drawing a blank here. That is for respirable crystalline silica. Right on that. With that, they were able to haggle that down here. Now, they went in and they did their own sampling, OSHA did, on this. Now, right, and it goes on and on and on with the whole, then down to a HAZCOM standard. And what does it come down to here is they kept on getting whacked here with 5,675, and then they can negotiate it down to 3,670. They had a reduction here, right? So I'm going to tell you, they go through all of this, right? And the OSHA does a whole industrial hygiene survey. What do you think they're going to do? Any guess what they're going to do? Especially if you pay the bill and without a lot of arguing, without a lot of appeals, without a lot of anything else, they're going to be back and do follow-up. That's my experience here with this. Especially if you're in a targeted industry, they're going to do follow-up. If they do follow-up, and after they put in all this effort into doing industrial hygiene monitoring, guess what? They're going to come back. They will come back. Every time that a client of mine, right, and I get called ex post facto, of course, after the fact. We were, OSHA was here now. And then they don't tell you, and you go there and you figure out OSHA did all this air sampling. And I'm like, well, you should have called me when OSHA showed up. We could have at least had some kind of defense here with this. And again, first of all, you shouldn't have gotten into your situation to begin with here. And then they came back almost 1 year to the day. Right, so the date was, the initial inspection was 8/29/2024. They came back 8/20/2025, and then 9/4/2025 here to GT Stone Granite. Well, guess what? You know that there's going to be a problem. And oftentimes what happens is they feel employers feel that, hey, we paid them, we'll never see them again. Well, guess what? They're going to be back to double check here. And assuming it's the same kind of violations, which it appears it is, that's when you're going to have a problem here with failure to abate issues and things of that nature. So they could have, I think they got away cheap. They could have gotten a lot larger fine here with this. With the other one, was Stone Atlantic countertops. So they had nothing is on the establishment search for that other than saying that they were there. And this takes about a month to be updated from when they do this. So we'll see. We'll see what happens there with this. Now we're going to go on over to study finds here with this. So there was some AI news here. AI, this is from Study Finds, reviewed by John Anderer. AI may be making creative thinking more uniform, and switching chatbots won't change much. Your AI brainstorming partner and everyone else's might be giving the same answers. Researchers tested 22 AI language models and 102 humans on creativity tasks and found AI responses were far more similar to each other than human responses were to one another. Switching between AI tools from different companies did not restore creative diversity. The homogeneity persisted, that means that they were all the same, across all models tested. Tweaking AI settings or prompting models to be more creative produce only minor improvements, and cranking randomness too high caused outputs to become incoherent. Researchers warn that widespread AI use for creative work could gradually narrow the range of ideas produced across society, with less creative individuals at most risk. So let me repeat that. Less creative individuals most at risk. Well, I don't know. I think it's similar to like an imposter syndrome, where people think that you're all creative, but you're relying on the computer with this. I don't know. To put both humans and AI through their creative paces, the team used 3 standard psychological tests. The alternative used task asked participants to list as many unusual uses as possible for everyday objects like a book, a fork, or a hammer. The forward flow task gives a single starting word and asks participants to write the next word that comes to mind, and then the next, seeing how far a chain of thoughts drifts from where it began. The diversion association task asks for 10 words that are unrelated to each other as possible, wider variety, indicating stronger creative thinking. On the human side, 102 participants were recruited through prolific and online platform community to find research volunteers and screen for English fluency. On the AI side, models included ChatGPT 4.0, Google Gemini 1.5, Meta's Llama series, Mistral, Coherent Command R+, and Microsoft's 5 models, among others. Statistical tests drew on one representative from how, and the computer just locked up, hold on every response everyone else's, based on how far apart the ideas are in meaning. The second measurement is where the real story emerged. Right? So, let's see. AI held its own on individual creativity scores, matching slightly outperforming humans on 2 or 3 tasks. 2 of the 3 tasks. At first glance, it sounds like a point in AI's favor, but individual scores only tell part of the story. When researchers looked at how similar all the AI responses were to each other, the picture changed quickly. Across all 3 sets, AI answers clustered tightly together, while human, and they have a scatter graph up here. So basically, what it comes down to, the computers are all using the same thing, right? With that, and we have time for one more story here. Here we have another one. This is from OHS, Occupational Health and Safety. New research from the ASP outlines how AI tools are transforming risk assessment. I was an early adopter and talker on this before COVID, even with actually during COVID, on how AI is going to change the safety industry. So the ASSP said AI and the evolving role of EHS professionals examines how responsible integration of AI can improve workplace safety while addressing concerns regarding data privacy. According to the white paper, AI adoption within the EHS sector is currently in its early stages. While many professionals are exploring the technology, early adopters are already utilizing low-cost AI tools to analyze incident data and streamline safety reporting. I would be very careful there with confidentiality agreements and NDAs if you're doing that on that. Be very careful. Because now there's another story here that says that's all discoverable now, right? That's not confidential using that. Key findings from the research include increased efficiency. Safety professionals reported significant time savings when using AI to draft policies, safety reports, and training materials. Proactive risk management, machine learning, sensors, and video analytics are helping firms shift from reactive safety measures to identifying hazards in real time. And the report and human oversight. The report emphasizes that while AI enhances decision making, it does not replace professional judgment. I'll attest to that. Human expertise remains essential for validating AI-generated outputs. Right? And I tell you what, be careful with AI. I'm going to tell you that. Be very careful, right? Because it involves human lives that you may be impacting here in a major way. And that's all I have for tonight's Safety Wars. I will talk to you, God willing, tomorrow or over the weekend. For Safety Wars and the Safety FM Network, this is Jim Polzel. Good night.
The views and opinions expressed on this podcast are those of the host and its guest and do not necessarily reflect the official policy or position of the company. Examples of analysis discussed within this podcast are only examples. They should not be utilized in the real world as the only solution available, as they are based only on very limited and dated open source information. Assumptions made within this analysis are not reflective of the position of the company. No part of this podcast may be reproduced, stored in a retrieval system, or transmitted in any form or by any means, mechanical, electronic, recording, or otherwise, without prior written permission of the creator of the podcast, Jay Allen.
You got into the safety business because you wanted to protect people, but somewhere along the way, the job started controlling your time, your schedule, your priorities, even your income potential. What if the expertise you've built over the years in the field can give you something more? More freedom, more control, more ownership of your future. I'm Sheldon Primus, the author of 7 Steps to Starting a Profitable Safety Consulting Business and the host of the Safety Consultant Podcast, with more than 350 episodes helping safety professionals become consultants and grow their career. Consulting changed my life. In fact, I'm a full-time RVer, and one consulting contract paid for my home I live in today. Now, I help safety professionals build their own consulting practice through bi-weekly coaching calls, accountability, and personal guidance. But this program isn't for everyone. Start with the Consultant Readiness Audit at sheldon.coach.
What if everything we thought we knew about safety was just interference? From the host of the Rated R Safety Show and the founder of Safety FM comes the complete signal transmission trilogy, now available in one powerful edition. Safety, in my opinion, the book that started the conversation. Safety Mutation, where the boundaries of culture, systems, and belief begin to break. And now, Safety Transmission, the final piece of the signal. For the first time, all 3 books are together in one volume. The Signal Transmission Trilogy, Complete Edition. This isn't just about compliance. It's about consciousness. It's about decoding the way we think, lead, and live, inside and outside the system. Whether you've been following the signal since the beginning or you're just now tuning in, this is the version to own. Search Signal Trilogy on Amazon or visit safetyfm.com to get your copy now.